The video game Contraband, in development by, I think, Avalanche Software out of Sweden. The Avalanche studio in Sweden, not the one under Warner Brothers, has its production has been halted. Now, this is something that a lot of people have been saying is not surprising to them. Honestly, I wasn't following this game to be really fair with you guys, man. There are many games that one has to keep up with, and I can tell you that this was one that everybody was saying, "Oh, we'd love to see this." And it was literally on the back burner for me. Apparently, there's been nothing shown about this game. There's not much known about this game. And I think it got to the point where maybe the game was probably not meeting its deadlines. And before it became another, I don't know, what's the name of the other game? Perfect Dark. Xbox had to go ahead and pause on development. Now, what's going on here? I think there's a signal that a lot of development teams now have to pretty much take on. Because from what we're seeing, it seems like there seems to be a lot of time needed to develop a lot of these games these days. Now, as to the intricacies of game development on that scale, I'm not really aware. However, here's what I know. The Japanese developers, they seem to have a rhythm going for them. And this rhythm that they have going for them is putting some constraint on the West. And it's not just the Japanese developers. I think it's more looking like some kind of an Eastern thing. Some people have said it's probably because of the work schedules that they keep and so on and so forth. But hear me out. In the West, we used to get really good cadences of games in the 2009, 2011 era. I can tell you that from what I've seen, in terms of my own playing, in terms of some of my favorite games, especially those that have a series that follow them, the Arkham games, right? We can look and see, okay, how did they go ahead and launch these games? You can even look at the Spider-Man games from back then. What was the time differential between these titles and between when they launched and were delivered to the market? Go find your favorite series, or find some of the studios, like studios under Sega. Find some, studios like studios under From Software, right? And the work that they do, and see what their cadence looks like. And when you think about it, you'll realize that this is actually quite wild. Look at the development teams under the publisher, Focus Interactive. That is a very effective publisher as well, whereby it launches games, and these cancellations don't necessarily seem like they're a norm in those ecosystems. So what in the world is going on? How are these teams not meeting deadlines, and what in the world are they doing when it comes down to their games? Are they, signing up for bigger games than they're capable of making? Or did somebody get too ambitious? Or did Xbox greenlight a game that was probably too ambitious for the team to make? Or are they looking at the market and saying this game might just not, in this particular realm, help us? We may as well just cut our losses and move on to something else in terms of what we know could be profitable at the end of the day. It could be all of the above. It could be some. It could be none of the above. But I look at this and I say to myself, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've probably reached a place where the saturation in the gaming market is very expensive, and it's costing a lot of developers their time. Having spent all those years at a job where you pretty much go in and you work on this game and you're probably excited for this project, or maybe the project reaches a point where you're excited about it, and then the publisher is like, I don't think I have another $200 million for you guys. Because this Contraband game was supposed to be some kind of an open world co-op game or whatever it is. Probably one of your $200 million projects or $300 million projects at this time. With that in mind, I think they're looking at those, costs and saying, now we want to expand our profits and our margins. Because that's exactly what PlayStation is also doing. Now, Xbox just happens to have a high cadence because it has a lot of studios. Because if they didn't have these many studios, they'd probably find themselves in a similar area. Because to be very frank with you guys, Xbox has also maintained this kind of, conservative approach in terms of developing games. How it got super big with all of this stuff, it's just a little surprising to me in a sense. But I think they were probably going out there and, courting third-party studios to make, games for them. And I think now it's a matter of, efficiency. Internal studios had already basically seen the boot in some cases, right? Depending on the kind of boot that they saw, a heavy boot, like in the case of the Initiative, light boots, like in the case of Turn 10, having some of their projects stopped, and then they're now going to go, support other titles in development. Third-party studios should have probably taken a hint to say, man, this is exactly where we are. And so now everyone's going to be very, cautious as to how long they're scaling their games. And everybody's got to come to the table and say, man, these projects are probably too big for the timeline that you're wanting. I think this is how they're going to resolve a lot of, the challenges that we're seeing in terms of these games getting cancellations back and forth and left and right. It's absolutely wild that we're seeing stuff like this going on in the gaming industry. But it's not surprising at the end of the day. Again, they probably looked at the project and said, this project is going to cost so much to complete. Potentially looked at the timeline, potentially looked at the weight and the value of the IP. And they said, let's move on. I look at other projects like Blade. I will not be surprised Phil Spencer actually takes that game to the chopping block. I would hate for that to happen. But already you guys know he's not really big on these, licensed IPs. I mean, he literally turned down Marvel. Do y'all remember that article where, everybody was saying Phil Spencer, he's this. He turned down Marvel. He's like, nah, we're not doing it. We're good. When Marvel approached him and said, hey, anybody you want to do any exclusives or whatever, Phil's like, I'm good. If it wasn't that they acquired Bethesda, who was probably already planning to do this Blade game, I don't think he would have been pursuing those things, because the money is better spent improving your studios, giving them the resources that they need so that they can continue to make games and IP that you own. That right there is the major part of this entire thing. Your IP, your product, your own, property, making sure that they're actually popular, that they stay relevant, and you can continue to monetize them. It's a challenge that PlayStation is facing right now, because one of their biggest titles is Spider-Man. Yes, Horizon Zero Dawn is one of their bigger ones that has sold a lot of copies. But when you look through that list, it's Aloy and Kratos. They ruined Ellie's story in The Last of Us. So now they basically botched that IP. They won't touch the Uncharted IP for some strange reason. I don't know why they're looking at Uncharted, which I think is going to make, or would have made, a solid game years ago. A lot of the people who played the Uncharted games and enjoyed them, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they actually resonate with it. Right? And so with all this in mind, if your biggest IP is not one that you own, or one of your bigger IPs is not one that you own, it's a very interesting place to be honest with you. And many studios and many publishers are going for ownership now. Arrowhead wanting to go, independent, or already are independent. Sorry, I just whacked my mic. Already independent. And so what are they trying to achieve? They're trying to get away from under the thumb of a publisher, or at least get their own thing going for them. This is the gaming industry right now. And so with this game having its production paused, I think they're probably going to be assessing to see. So someone's got to make a case. Someone on their marketing team, someone on their analysis team has to make a case that this game is going to bring in good revenue and also bring in good profits. And if they cannot see that, I don't know, people. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Those of you who are looking forward to the game, or I don't know what you'd be looking forward to. I haven't seen anything. Is there something that they put out somewhere? Was there a teaser? I mean, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Peace out.